Hey everyone and welcome. Today we're diving into this wonderfully quirky story about a pretty surprising inheritance and maybe, just maybe, the secret to keeping a cheerful temper, even when you're surrounded by the most frustrating people you can imagine.
So, our narrator kicks things off with this line right here. He says he got the best inheritance from his father. Now, when you hear the word inheritance, what pops into your head?
You're probably thinking about something big, right? Something tangible, a huge estate, a pile of cash, maybe a powerful family name to carry on, the kind of thing that sets you up for life.
But nope, it wasn't any of those things. The absolute best inheritance he ever got was simply a good temper. And as we're about to find out, that might just be worth more than any fortune in the world.
So where did this incredible gift even come from? Well, to really understand the son's good nature, you have to meet his father first.
Okay, what's so fascinating here is the total contradiction. His dad was a hearse driver. I mean, he's literally the guy leading every funeral procession. You'd picture someone pretty grim, right? Somber, serious. But he was the exact opposite, lively, round, and just full of joy.
His whole life philosophy was written right there on his face. Sitting up there on what he called the omnibus of death, his cheerful expression just seemed to tell everyone, hey, even in the middle of all this sorrow, it's not as bad as you think. It was this infectious optimism that he passed right down to his son.
So, following in his dad's footsteps, our narrator also picked up a pretty unique habit. He absolutely loved visiting the local churchyard. And I know what you're thinking. That sounds a little morbid, right? But for him, it was a place of endless wisdom and, believe it or not, amusement. He invites us to see it just like he does. For him, the churchyard isn't some sad, dreary place. It's a library. Every single gravestone is like the spine of a book, a closed story just waiting for someone to open it. All right, so the tour is officially starting. He's about to open a few of these books for us, sharing some of the strangest and most insightful stories of the people buried right here. First up, we've got a tale of two men. On the one hand, you've got this guy who had everything, but was completely miserable. He'd get worked up over the tiniest things, a light being too bright at the theater, the wrong kind of tree in a painting. He literally fretted himself right into the grave. Then you've got the other guy, a man of high birth who was basically useless, like a fancy bell pull that doesn't actually ring a bell. But he was perfectly happy because he had someone else doing all the real work for him. So you see, the big takeaway here is that happiness had nothing to do with their position in life, but everything to do with their perspective. Our next character is, well, he's a real piece of work. A tragicomic figure if there ever was one. This man lived for 67 years with just one single ambition, to finally have one brilliant idea. And wouldn't you know it, one day, he actually had one. He was so overwhelmed with pure joy that it killed him. And the punchline? Nobody ever found out what the idea was. A whole lifetime spent waiting for a thought that helped absolutely no one. What a story, huh? Okay, the next grave belongs to a woman whose stinginess was just legendary. I mean, we all know people who are a little cheap, but this woman, she took it to a whole other level. And this right here just perfectly shows how far she was willing to go. She was too stingy to actually own and feed a cat, so she would just get up in the middle of the night and pretend to be one, just to keep up appearances with the neighbors. You almost have to admire that level of dedication. Almost. Our final stop on this little tour brings us to an entire family grave. And this family, they had this really peculiar, unshakable belief. If a member of their family said something, it was true. Period. It didn't matter what the rest of the world, or even reality itself, had to say about it. This is my absolute favorite example of their logic. The town watchman could be shouting, "It's midnight!" Every clock in town could be striking 12, but if their rooster crowed, well, then it was morning. End of discussion. It's just a hilarious look at the complete absurdity of that kind of stubborn collective delusion.
So what's the point of all these stories from the graveyard? It's not just for a good laugh. Our narrator uses these tales as the foundation for a really practical way to keep his good temper.
So here's his secret. Whenever someone he knows is being completely insufferable or petty or just ridiculous, he doesn't get angry. No, he performs what he calls a mental burial. He just pictures a little plot for them in his mind, buries their annoying behavior, and basically puts them out of his head until they come back acting like a better version of themselves. It's actually a pretty powerful way to just let go of all that irritation. And all of this, the cheerful father, these stories from the graves, the art of the mental burial, it all leads up to one simple, ultimate goal for our narrator.
You see, when his own story finally ends and his own book is closed, this is the only thing he wants written on his gravestone. Not rich man or important man, just the man with a cheerful temper. It was the greatest thing he ever received, and it's the only legacy he really cares to leave behind.
And that's where we'll leave it. It's a funny, but actually really profound way to think about dealing with the world, isn't it? Which leaves me with just one final question for you to think about. After hearing all this, who in your life might need a quiet little spot in your own mental churchyard today?